64 we're gonna pay.
I don't think we should even focus.
In the tents. In the tents. The big tents. Every day in the tents. Or maybe it's gonna be upstairs. I doubt it. I doubt it's upstairs. No problem.
Like BMWs.
Yeah, but a BMW for many years.
Yeah.
And I was the first born when I got it in 1985. I got it in Crownlands at BMW. They looked at me, they yelled at me, they cursed me. And after that, the whole corner is driving Mercedes and BMWs. And I was
I want to tell you something.
I was the first Corval.
Yeah. I want to tell you something. Both my parents survived concentration camp. I grew up.
My whole uncles, five uncles, 4 of them got killed. But, okay, they went to war from Russia. They sent them to war.
Yeah, but I'm saying something else.
Yeah.
I grew up in Sweden.
Okay.
You know, they came from Hungary and
right.
they went to Sweden after the war. And I never ever heard such a thing that you were not allowed to buy German goods.
Yeah.
They did not. My father would do business with Germany. There was no such a thing. It's strictly an American thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and I think
look,
that
it hurts. It hurts when somebody tells you that, and they have a point. They have a point.
Yeah, some people say that, but my parents who went through hell, you know, they didn't have that attitude at all. And I was thinking of it many times. I think that it was so horrible, so big, that it's beyond these things. You know, it came from Hashem and
you know, like I told Rabbi Jacobson, for 2,000 years we can't make one Swiss in English. We can't just get along. One time. First of all, we had 2 times.
You're not allowed to.
Why not? We had twice before. We saw we're much in a lower level than we were 2,000 years ago. Look how many tzulas we made. Can you imagine if somebody tells you, he's standing on the West Side Highway on the 42nd Street, and I'm going to tell him, let's take a bicycle, we'll cross the Hudson to New Jersey. So in Michigan on the bicycle. I say, yeah, there's a button, I push the button, the river splits, and we take a bicycle. She says, I'm Michigan. Over our ancestors saw this miracle. And they still made Avedas and Avedas and Avedas and Avedas. It was no bitocha. Today I think we have more bitocha than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have more education, more learning. And why can't we just get along? A horse, when you train a horse, you know, it takes a long time to you put a saddle, right? You beat it.
I'm not familiar.
No, but a horse is a wild horse. Till you put a saddle, till you start walking. So a horse has more seichel in a way from us. Why? Because after climbing so many klep,
The horse doesn't have it yet, so alright.
no, but after klep so much, he stops. It's okay, you know what? I give up. Okay, you can ride me, you can walk with me. So, and then the owner.
We are not horses. Hashem made it.
I know, but a horse says after a little bit he gives up. He says, okay, feed me, clean me, give me a barn. I'm a chai, I work with you. We don't want to work with the Rebster.
Listen,
What is it the
listen,
Rebster wants from us?
there is a pasuk in Yeshaya. When Mashiach comes, we are going to understand why we had to go through all this, why all the tzars. We're going to say, thank Hashem for giving us all the tzars. We don't understand it today, you know.
No, we don't understand, but
But the point is we're going to thank Hashem for it.
because he was purified. But why we need the tzars?
You asking me?
Tuesday I was in the hospital. Last week's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Azadi came in a wheelchair. It doesn't work. He's really strong like a house. Came, blessed his grandson. Yesterday, by mistake, something happened to the wheel. He flipped over here. His head died. In the morning, he's alive. I mean, was strong. He's an Israeli army. Everything. He was paralyzed. He couldn't walk so well.
How old was he?
72. Nothing. Who was it?
You see this story. You see somebody who is in his 90s and strong and in a car accident and poof.
Or he crosses the street. You know, I grew up in Samarkand, Tashkent. We left. I was born in Lvov, Lemberg, 100 miles from Warsaw. It was so short to be a from here, so we moved to the Bukhara Shehid. So we lived there. My father was passed away there when I was 8. And then they gave us a visa. So when we were living in Uzbekistan, it was mamash Mesiras Nefesh. We were underground. We went to yeshivas. His father, Sholem, came to Samarkand in 1970. We thought he was a painter. And they came with a beret. But I didn't know at that time. I was a little kid. So he was smuggling things, giving us bitachon that there's the Rabbi, we're going to come out. We were more frum in believing that Kodesh Baruch Hu than the people today. I mean, somebody sent me a picture yesterday that I was, not me myself, but I was there. I mean, it's not my picture. I was there, but bar mitzvah. So, and this guy, his name is Zaltzman. He lives in he's a chazan, Zaltzman.
New Jersey, yeah.
New Jersey. So
Beryl,
he's Beryl Zaltzman. So he made
like 85 or something.
he made a shidduch for Mashoga Mashiach. My Mashoga is Mashiach who died in Kronet. So this is Zaltzman. This is Zaltzman with a clean shaven, making a bar mitzvah.
He's not clean shaven. I think
This is Mashiach.
to him.
He pork not to go to acid. He drinks like acid so he can get sick, not to go to the army. This is Mashiach's father in Samarkand with the Langi board. This is Bereshit. This is Nishkrugliak. I forgot the name. So this is Zatzman. So he made the shidduch for us. He came here to do the photos. He's my guy.
Time relaxing.
Just back in game, he kills him. We get to Kaporos, we get nothing on meat, I do think I got a feel.
You don't have answers.
No,
okay?
100% we don't have answers. But look the way they did a bar mitzvah more. 10 chevra, we make a bar mitzvah, that's it. I tried to do the second thing, it blows, but I don't know how to do the cold air. And it stops every couple minutes.
What's the story with the parking lot?
It's closed. That's the story.
Why?
And this place, always surprised to see it. You know, I try now for 3 weeks to get the mezuzah there. It doesn't happen.
Still didn't happen?
No.
No, today is Monday, you have to make a decision. You know who's gonna go? He wants to go also. Polish. Someone that sits here. He's a teacher. He lives in the Yarosara Park Avenue.
Potash?
Yeah.
No.
Potash, yeah. He texted me yesterday, I gave him the information with the travel agent to book the ticket.
How much is the ticket?
Last week was $800. It was nothing, round trip. I don't know, every day it gets fills up. There's only 3 types of plane. Through Moscow, through Turkey, or through through Frankfurt.
Which one are you going to?
I'm going with the Aeroflot. I'm going through Moscow for 2 hours. And then we're debating maybe after, because on the way back, we're leaving Wednesday 2 in the morning, we'll be here at 1 o'clock Thursday afternoon. Or we can stay with Rabbi Lazar for Shabbos there in Moscow for Vengan this way,
When are you leaving?
18th, Sunday night. 9:30 Sunday night, August 18th. We're leaving Sunday night, 10 o'clock. And we'll be there Tuesday, Mamash on the Rebbe's Yotze, 2 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday. We'll sleep in hotel Tuesday, we'll sleep for bringing Wednesday. And then Wednesday, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, we go back to...
It's a regular shtut or it's
Yeah,
like
gorgeous city.
Ukraine, like
It looks like Las Vegas. They shut down all the casinos all over Russia and Ukraine and they put it in Kazakhstan. Why? Because it's 300 kilometers from China. So the Chinese and China, Mongolia, for all of them, they're all borderline. They love to gamble. So they put they made it such a beautiful city there. And because in Russia there was mamash, it was a sakona. There was so many casinos. They used to kill each other, gangsters. It was like 1920s. So 20 years ago they shut down.
which July what?
August 18th.
August.
In 5 weeks from now. 5 weeks from now. Today is July
And there are
1st.
no casinos left.
In Moscow, no. Now,
No, but
in Kazakhstan, yeah, it's gorgeous casinos. Because it looks like Las Vegas. It's huge mountains.
Which Rebbe is this?
The Rebbe's father. The Rebbe's father. The Rebbe's, the Rebbe says whoever goes to my father, because he couldn't, he left before they got arrested. He escaped before the war.
Which Rebbe?
Why would you remember?
Samarkand.
The Rebbe's father.
Father what?
No, it's father. The Rebbe's father.
Which
His
Rebbe?
father wasn't a rebbe.
Right, but the Miftik want to fuck off.
Which
One
Rebbe?
of
The
my-
Baba
one of my
Tanya
sons-
or the...
The Lubavitcher Rebbe. Menachem Mendel.
One of my
Mendel's
sons
father.
shares his
Father.
birthday.
No, but I'm saying the Rebbe's father is not a Rebbe.
What is the youth son?
Chof Wolf, right? Chof Wolf? Oh, no. Chof Wolf. Chof Wolf. It's
I'm saying his birthday is in Chaim Nissan,
Uh-huh.
and my youngest son was born on that day.
Yeah.
But he named me after my wife's father because he had passed away. And now he had his fourth child, and he finally got the name of Yitzchak.
Yeah. Listen. But there's over 1,000 people coming there. Right? From all over. It's Israel, from London, from Paris, Russia, all the shluchim they go there.
This is in Russia.
It's part of Russia. Right? They all, they have Chinese eyes, but they're Russians. They look like mama's Chinese. Kazakhstan. They speak Russian.
I was once in,
And you think they're Chinese?
I was once in South Muncie in the gas station there, and I saw two Chinese guys there.
They're speaking Russian.
I'm speaking Russian.
Yeah,
And
it's strange.
They didn't look like regular Chinese, they were much taller.
Yeah, but because they've been simulated.
I couldn't figure it out.
They've been simulated with
Why
so many
Chinese people
Russians.
speak Russian. And then I asked the Russian guy, Alex Kotora,
Yeah.
I asked him in shul, what do you mean, he says,
Yeah, it's
part of
strange.
Mongolia is Russia.
It's a very rich country. They have oil, they have,
Yeah.
it's clean. You won't find a cigarette on the floor. That's how clean the city.
Yeah.
Very clean city. Corruption, but it's very clean. Very rich. You should see on Real Deal, they bought hundreds of millions of dollars real estate all over the United States.
Trump.
No, unfortunately. They've been buying real estate here for the last 20 years. I was going to get some
Listen,
more.
were you here when he spoke about Dalai Lama?
Yes.
So I just saw yesterday, I was chatting, so somebody from BBC, a woman interviewed
What do
me,
you do?
and
I
she
noticed,
asked
you
him,
know, I do alarm systems.
could he see a woman take over his movement? He said yes,
Beautiful. I couldn't
But
figure
she
out how
has
the
to-
electrician.
she has to be attractive, she has to
Something
look
with
good.
electric.
Something like that.
And this woman, she was flabbergasted, says to him,
Who said that? Who was that?
Dalai Lama said that.
People do everything
In public,
on wireless.
I do like, yeah.
I moved here 25 years ago.
She
once
asked
I
him,
bought a
well,
house
isn't
with
the
a
main
house
thing
with
what's
a-
inside?
Like
The look?
She worked for
Yeah, but
years.
this is
I
showing
don't
what you
know, blocks the. I feel
Nobody
like-
uses.
And
No, I feel
the
like the box
reaction,
is such a beautiful box.
unbelievable.
Every window is
People
wire
just
with
said,
magnet,
bye-bye.
sensors, never worked, always. I have a.
He's supposed to
in
be
house.
the highest level of spirituality in the Goyish world. And here, he cares about
$300 on the car.
Hevla,
No wonder you need water.
different world.
It was
No,
so
the
fun
only
in the
problem with
reaction
wireless
because
is
people
that
would
goes
pick up and it just like
disconnects
that.
outside electrical is down
Stuck.
that's it. That's the only problem. So you need like a backup of battery that can send a signal, but I don't know if they make wireless to be backup that battery, you know?
They make wireless that when the battery loses, you get
What
no.
happened to the drop?
There's backups as well.
It's not on my.
Yeah.
I don't have a safe back deposit. I have nothing with the stick.
Get some good mezuzahs, you're okay.
Like the businesses, you know, so, you know, when you go to the belly, it's good to have a bulletproof vest too. Mezuzahs that I have, mezuzahs that I eat, you need a bulletproof vest. It helps. Helps. So it's anyway, with mezuzah, you still need a
Alarm system.
I'm just giving you a little hizzer.
This is point ninety. You giving me for my tea?
No, it's a good lecture. I'm here.
It's
It's
a
gonna
good
make $1 million today. This is done.
I already got it last time.
Did it work?
You bring in your own weed?
I'm sure it worked. I just didn't notice yet.
You
Can't
can't
bring
smoke
it
this.
as a physical thing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Bring it home to show everybody.
Okay.
I was trying to get the roots, but I couldn't get it out. It wasn't a rush. So we didn't want to become late.
Smart. My coffee is ready. See, he brings his own, sauce, huh?
You need it.
Huh?
It's good. You need it. It's legal now. Well, everybody says that. Yeah, and you also saw Babe Ruth hit a 60th home run.
You're not rushing then.
Yeah, no,
No,
You're reactive, but you're not rushing.
there's a third vice that if you catch.
it was a mistake somewhere. I don't have a account for wine. $100, $300, $10. All the same. Wine absolutely is huge with that. What?
Rabbi Jacobson, could you please move this man needs a seat? Could you please move this man needs a seat? Sit right in there, man. for a week and then away another week.
So your son, I think, someone at a wedding, maybe?
Yeah, yes.
Englewood, or with us?
In Brooklyn.
Why?
In St. Alley.
Huh?
He's married to a New Jersey. Yeah.
Ah, for the wedding, yeah. Send my regards. You got?
I did. I just
forgot.
just now. Yes. He was in a partying. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Now I could give you even a better regards. From me.
Yeah, first person.
I have to make a shliach.
Thank you. I'll remind him tonight. You know Shmuley, New Jersey? Yes, my son married his daughter.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I want to give a mazel tov to the Engel family who's here. The father of the Kala, the Zayde from the Kala, the whole Mashpacha, still in the middle of Sheva Brachas. They will sing in Anim's Middas. Okay. And welcome everybody else too. Alle Balei Simcha, yeah? Okay, Vu Haltman, we're holding in the middle of the Maimer about the Mekoshish 84. Huh? Yeah. '84 or Mem Beis column 3. On top it says Shlach. The line starts Va'ah v'zu mebchinas seivav kalam. And like 15 lines from the bottom. First column 84. The line starts Va'ah v'zu mebchinas seivav kalam. The Balatanya explained to us that there are two states, two layers in Ava, in love. One, he says, is a Ava that's rooted in Mamalik Alman, in his Lashon, in his language, and one is an Ava, love rooted in Soivav Kalalman. The difference, briefly, is the Ava of Mamalik Alman is essentially a love of self, of the ultimate self, the true self, but it's a love of self. As Moshe Rabbeinu puts it, La'avas Hashem Elokecha ki hu chayecha. Haslib zich. The real zich, the haslib zich, you love yourself, the real self, the true self. You love your life. A person loves life. You love your life. And therefore you love life. What is the truth of life? The truth of life is the divine of life. As he puts it, Hu atzmai hachayis shebekirbai. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to love. Part of loving self is love of God. That's what real love of self is. It's not love self, my mishagasin, my ego. That's a different type of, right? That's on the contrary, that's not a love of self. That's love of a cover-up of self. Because I don't like myself, I need to like other things. This one falls in love with their suit. What do you have to love your suit for? Because I don't like what's behind the suit. This one has to love their watch. This one has to love their car. In other words, these are all loves that substitute the real love of self. The real love of self is the love of your deepest pnimius. So you don't have to substitute it with other stuff. Sometimes when there's such a void, I hate myself. A person once told me, I said, why do you work so hard? He was a real workaholic, but beyond. The Jews are workaholics, but this was like mahadrin min mahadrin, non-stop, ma'asav ha'ilach, like Hanukkah. He said something very deep. I'm laughing, it's pretty tragic. He said, I never felt needed in my life. I'm going to force my whole company to say, I am needed. I am needed. So it was in a very deep awareness. So in other words, the whole drive was not because he was interested in that issue. It was coming simply to fill a tremendous void that I really feel valueless. So how am I going to prove to myself that I have value? And the answer is, at the board meeting, they're going to say, he's indispensable to the company. Which means whenever my ambition is fueled by that, then I never really know what I want. Because most of my ambitions are just here to fill up a void and get me away from the pain of filling that void. So it could be my whole life I'm pursuing dreams that have nothing to do with my dreams. Am I making myself clear? Anybody relates to this here?
Isn't it for everybody? Everybody wants to feel like useful.
Of course you want to fulfill useful and you want to be valuable and you want to be indispensable to your company and you want tenure and you want to raise. Of course. That's not... when it becomes as a substitute because there's no value outside of the compliment that I'm getting from my boss. That's the issue. It's not coming from within. The without replaces the within. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. How would a Russian Jew know about that? About families that don't give compliments? Trust me, there's American families also who have that issue. Russians got their issues, but Americans also have a couple of issues. Different type, yeah. Different type. Okay, listen. Russia, is a unique... between the Tsars and Stalin, they really did a job on Russian society. Tatsache weggenommen von sie, yeah. Yeah. Hitler murdered everybody and the Russians destroyed everybody inside, right? They destroyed normalcy. They tried. You're here. Is da. Yet nikavo. Krami Boga adnavo. Ja, ze geht doch zu Jud Beis Tammuz bald, so. So that's the first law. Very, very important. La'avas Hashem Elokecha ki hu chayecha. Yud Beis Tammuz was the Chag HaGeula of the Rebbe Rayat in 1927 by Stalin. No, under Stalin. The section 27. Tofresh Pei Zayin.
We take the whole population of Russian Jews, let's say in 1930, and how many now are from or healthy or whatever. I don't know, probably not too high of a percentage, really.
Listen, they were 70 years under an oppression that people don't realize what happened to them. Generations. It was one of the most strategic wars against Yiddishkeit in history.
Mind control.
Beyond mind control. It was okay. It's not for now. We could do some lectures on Russian history, but it's worth understanding a little bit.
Imagine how messed up the goyim are.
Oh, yeah. So, what are we talking about? Mamalikalam. Compliments. Okay, compliments.
This love of self, how does it go together with bittul? You said that
This love of
loving
self.
yourself is loving Hashem in a healthy way. But how does it go with bittul? You said everybody wants to feel needy, wants to feel indispensable. And at the same time, you're going to have bittul, so it seems to counteract.
Right, so it's you want to know how it coincides with bittul. So I think the answer to that is depends how we define bittul. If we define bittul literally as the self is worthless, as Moshe says, the bist garnished, and that's an American speaking, not even a Russian. So I guess Americans also have some issues. Not you, but other Americans.
Hey, not me either.
So if we define bittul as that, then you're right. The two can't coincide. But this is not a contradiction to bittul. Bittul is the bittul of the ego, the bittul of the separation, the bittul of the self that is not one with the divine. Real bittul means the alignment of self with the true self, not the substitute of self with a fake self. You want to be mevatel that which is toxic in the person, that which is alien to the person, that which separates the person from his true self, from his true core. You get what I'm saying? It's even in halacha that way, by the way. When you say the word bittul in halacha, there's a famous idea, bittul b'shishim. Yeah? A little milk falls into a cholent pot. So there's a din of bittul b'shishim. If the ratio is 60-1, so it gets nullified. Yeah. What's the logic of it? The logic of it is that the majority, especially if it's 60, overwhelms it. It doesn't give it, obviously it's not recognizable anymore. It can't give it any flavor. The milk can't impact the flavor. It's too small. Right? There's a famous, so it's machlokes in Rishonim how you define the mechanism of bittul. The Rosh has a lashon in Masechta Chulin. I'm going to say it. Ha-isur nepach liyas k'may ha-heter. Bittul means that the isur is transformed into the heter. Yeah, it's not like the milk is overwhelmed, so we disregard it. No, because of the power of the meat, in terms of the ratio of meat versus milk, ha-isur nepach. It's like the milk is part of the cholent. That's the word bittul. Bittul means it's nullified. He says, what does it mean it's nullified? It becomes part of it. Right? Bottle becomes part of it. So now, the influence of the meat redefines the milk. In terms of practicality, at least. We're not going to discuss the chemistry at the moment. But
Its original quality is gone.
its original quality is gone. At least in terms of kashrus. So if you want to now translate, you say bittul to Hashem. What does that mean? That what? New taitchit up in halacha. That you become part. You become part of Hashem. So that makes you more powerful or less powerful? What do you think? Much more. You're a conduit for the infinite. Not only makes you more powerful, it gives you infinite power. So I'm being mevatel the milk. It becomes part of the meat. So real bittul means, on the contrary, we call it being mevatel. Really, it's the most powerful self-development and self-actualization, but it's divine self-actualization. In halacha, you have a din shlucha shel adam k'maisa. The Baal Tanya has a lashon in L'Kutei Torah shlucha shel adam ha'elyon k'maisa. Adam means a person. But Adam always means also the ultimate Adam. So when the Gemara says in Kiddushin and in many places, Shlucha shel Adam k'maisa, he says in L'Kutei Torah, Parshas Vayikra means Shlucha shel Adam ha'elyon k'maisa. You're a shliach of the ultimate Adam. What's k'maisa? You're like him now. The Gemara has a lashon in Shavuos, Eved Melech, Melech. The Eved of the Melech is the Melech. Really? It's the new king now? Isn't that treason? The answer is no. If he's Eved Melech, he is the Melech. Because his Metzias is An Eved, he's a conduit. An Avda de Kutchabrich, he's an Eved for the Melech. That's what real Bittel means. Rabbi Litzman, you verstehst a bisschen? Huh? So whenever you hear the word Bittel, right?
It empowers you in a good way.
Yeah. It empowers you.
In other words,
Aziz Sayyid, huh?
you mentioned a person wants to feel needed, indispensable. This is a very positive way of
Exactly. 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 I heard a word from Michael Savage. You know Michael Savage? Huh? From California. I was in the car, I turned on the radio, and I hear Michael Savage speaking. I'm telling you, Kamoishahu, as he said the word. I never heard it before. I heard this word from Michael Savage. Go figure. I'm listening to the radio and he says, I read or I heard an insight by Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And sometimes when you hear something, you know his accent, I'm not going to do it at the moment. He says, sometimes you hear something from somebody and you say, wow, this is a man of God. What's the line? That when you were born, it's the day that God said that the world is incomplete without you. There's something about you that the world is incomplete without you. That's what birth means. He says that's called wisdom. That comes from a great sage. And then he went on to discuss how people need to have this feeling. Okay, so this is what I heard from him. I never saw it anywhere. It's a beautiful word. Birth is God saying that the world is incomplete without you. It's certainly consistent with the Mishnah in Sanhedrin. Chayev Adam Loimar. Shvili Nivra Olam, and Lefichach Nivra Adam Yechidi, to tell you that a person is an Olam Malay, etc., so forth. But what does that mean? That need is not a toxic need. It's a genuine need. It's understanding your indispensability, your value. Chayev Adam Loim B'Shvili Nivra Olam is not about narcissism. The whole world was created for me. Everything is for me, and I could step on everybody and manipulate everybody and exploit everybody, and everybody is here for me. That's not a healthy condition in life. And yet the Mishnah says, B'Shvili Nivra Olam. For me, the world was created. But there's two ways of looking at it. Chayev Adam Loim B'Shvili Nivra Olam can mean the whole world was created for me. And therefore I can exploit everybody, and nobody even exists outside of me. Basically, I see everywhere a mirror. Wherever I look, I just see a mirror. You're a reflection of me, and you're a reflection of me, and you're a reflection of me. They say that there was a fellow who came to a therapist. And his problem was that everybody looks like his mother. And whoever says anything, it's his mother. It's his mother talking, and it drives him crazy. His mother is very controlling. And wherever he goes, everybody says it's his mother, and he goes crazy. He has these fits of rage as a result. And he says, and his dreams, only his mother. His whole night he dreams about his mother. So the doctor says, so describe to me last night. So he says he dreamt the whole night about his mother telling him this, his mother controlling him, his mother complaining, his mother demanding. And then finally he fell asleep, and his mother wakes him up. And says, you got to go to the therapist. 9 o'clock appointment. You got to go to the therapist. So he says, I run and I wanted to eat something. So I take a fast. I take a piece of bread and I run here with a cup of water, and I'm here. The doctor looks at him. He says, I don't understand. That's called breakfast? So sometimes a person, that's a form of trauma, right? If I'm everywhere, so that I'm living in a house of delusions. You're me, and you're me, and you're me, and everybody is me. We have names for these things. B'Shvili Nivra Olam is the exact opposite. It's the ultimate bittul, because the person recognizes his or her indispensability, as a shliach of Hashem. And there's something at stake in the universe, in you, because who are you? You're the divine light manifested in the world. And if you're the divine light manifested in this world, your light missing is impacting the whole world. Because Ano Avda de Kutchabrichu. You know the niggin, Ano Avda, Avda de Kutchabrichu, yeah? I'm an Eved of Kutchabrichu. So you start with Ano, but the Ano is defined as Avda de Kutchabrichu. That answers your question. And this answers your question by the L'chaim of your daughter. You remember? You asked about Bittel. Es gewinnt ein bisschen nach L'chaim. Okay. Ich vergessen? Okay.
Says the two greatest days in a person's life is the day he's born, the day he knows why.
Yeah. Beautiful. So the two greatest days of a person's life is the day he was born and the day he figures out why he was born. Yeah. And do you figure that out? Do you really figure that out? Lass mal fragen der Schwieger. Huh?
It's always changing.
Huh?
It's always changing.
The day you figure out why you were born and the day you can embrace it. You can really embrace it. Because sometimes we can't figure out why we were born because it's hard for us to acknowledge it. So there's a lot of blockages, I think. So the ability to really be able to embrace it and go with it. Because sometimes it's too big for our imagination and it's scary. Or it's something that's outside of our comfort zone. So really the ability to be able to embrace it. So this Ahava is a tremendous idea. La'avas Hashem alekecha ki hu chayecha. But it's the love of self. But it's the love of the real self, the true self, the divine self, the divine core. Rabbi Isaac, verstehst du was tut sich? Okay. Rabbi Shlomo, you good?
Figured out the first day, still trying to figure out the second day.
Huh? So that's the love of the ultimate self. Realizing that. Realizing its value, realizing its dignity. As he puts it, it's really part of the person. Because a person loves their life. What is this love? Hu yisbarach hu atzmai hachiyus shabai. Those are his words. Hu atzmai hachiyus shabai. Hachayus shabakir bai v'chayev mamish hu chaye ha'elam emal v'tachtaynu. Now this has a lot in it. This includes a lot. Why is it called the Ava rooted in Mamalik Alma? That we have to understand. In other words, the language of Mamalik Alma and the Ava rooted Mamalik Alma seems very mystical, very abstract. But really, it's a very clear idea. What's Mamalik Alma? Mamalik Alma means Hashem, the way He becomes the world. That's Mamalik Alma. Hashem, the way He defines Himself as the life of the world. Not just of the world collectively, but of every single aspect of the world. That's why, as we learned in other Maimarim, Mamalik Alman is always about diversity. His chalkos. Because the chiyus in you is not the chiyus in me. There's the commonality. Va'ata mechaya es kulam. But the va'ata mechaya es kulam is also very individuated. Because every single nivra, every single created being has its own purpose. And therefore its own function. And therefore its own design. And everything matches with each other. You can't compare the purpose of a black hole to the purpose of a little moss or a little squirrel that I was watching this morning eat food on Jacob. It has its tachlis. Like the Baal Shem Tov famously said that even a leaf that turns over, right? You all know the words from the Baal Shem Tov, it turns over, is by divine providence. In other words, it's somehow part of the plan. You say, really? How is that exactly part of the plan? And the Baal Shem Tov's taught not just that everything is b'hashgacha. much deeper. In other words, not just there's a plan here, but that it's indispensable to the whole plan. It's not a mistake. There's a reason for it. There's a reason. No. It's indispensable to the cosmic plan, to the cosmic purpose. It's not just a prat, it's also part of the whole klal. I once heard from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he said over this word from the Baal Shem Tov, and he said that a good mashal for this is von a gute balabosta, which in English means a real housewife who has mastered the art of running a home, a balabasta. He says, you'll see, a real balabasta, there's nothing out of place in the house. If it's garbage, it has to go out. If it's in the house, it has a purpose, and it has its place. It's not there randomly. It has its function. Even a little, it could be you're putting away a screw because in 6 years you may need it. But it has its purpose. But he said, but a real balabast, it's more than that. And this was a very interesting, powerful insight. And I think a very deep sensitivity to the feminine soul, the Akeres Habayis. It's not just it has a purpose. Every detail is part and indispensable to the ganze mahalach von der Stub, to the whole picture of the house. Here's my explanation. Now, men are compartmentalized. In other words, by me, a drawer is a drawer. Where's the hammer? The hammer is here. Women are less compartmentalized. The house is one chefza. It's one mitzias. Yeah? You know my clips about waffles and spaghetti, but we're not going to go there now so early in the morning. Yeah? Spaghetti, every strand of pasta is integrated with another 1,000 pieces. You don't have one strand of pasta. The house is the whole house. Every detail is not just it's here. It's essential to the ganze mahalach, to the whole house. Somehow it gives shleimus in the whole house. So that's the Baal Shem Tov's word. Not just the leaf is with a purpose. Every tnuah, every nekuda, every prat is indispensable to the whole inyan. So when you speak about mama, so that gives a whole different dignity to a person's journeys. Al pi Hashem yisu, al pi Hashem yachanu. Not just where you come, even the journey, the travel. The journey, the travel is the leaf rolling. Who cares? A little leaf. And by the way, there's a storm outside. So we wanted Hashem to make a storm, and the leaf shouldn't roll. If there's nature, when it's windy, the leaf is going to blow. How could that be? How could both be b'hashgacha? But the Baal Shem Tov said, no, the wind is supposed to be. And the fact that the leaf is moving is not just a necessary result. What do you want? There's a system. The system is when this happens, this is going to be reacted. And nests in the tree are going to fall apart from storms. No, that itself is b'hashgacha. Kannst fragen, Reb Shlomo.
They say today in science that if the leaf shakes over here, it affects the atmosphere in the sky.
Right, that famous line, you sneeze in Muncie and there's a hurricane in China. Yeah? Or I should say, Trump tweets in Washington, und the ganze Welt wird Meshiga. But Mela, Trump is the president of the United States. He could take a say, B'shvili nivra olam, and he does. The chiddush is, a Poshet Yid is walking to Shacharis on a Monday morning. He can also say, B'shvili nivra olam. My avoida, what's going to help, not help. I said Moidani in the morning, no big deal. But Hashem says that's a mistake. A person has to understand the indispensability of every moment. All of this is, what's the word? The word is Mamala Kalam. So Mamala Kalam and tied up in English, it's the way Hashem defines himself as the engine of the universe. That's a big deal. That's no small thing. To be the engine of the universe, you got to be pretty infinite. And not just the engine of the universe, the engine of every being in the universe. And hence, we call it mamale. What does mamale mean? As we spoke many, many times, it fills it. What's pshat? It fills it in spirituality. It fulfills spirituality means that's the teichen, that's the experience of the being. This is who I am. Mamalik Laman is who I am. If I want to define me, and you want to define you, right? You say, this chiyus fills me. This becomes who I am. This becomes who you are. That's why there's diversity. There's commonality. We're all one, and we're also all different. And both are essential. Because if we were supposed to be all the same, we would be all the same. But we know we're not the same. No two people think alike. No two people feel alike. No two people are alike, including two snowflakes. Ain't participation Shabbos, ain't there Shabbos. That's not a mistake. It's not a random error. I wish you could be like me. That's essential to the kavanah. That's part of Mamalik Kalam. And the way Hashem defines himself as my engine is not the way he defines himself as your engine. My soul is my soul. My guf is my guf. Our DNA may be almost identical, but the word is almost. And when people say details are not important, really, details are not important. What's the difference between you and a chimpanzee? How many details are different? You can look at the DNA, there's not many differences. But details are very important. They say the devil is in the details. What's the lashon? Huh? From a Jewish perspective, lahavdil, God is in the details. Study the jinnam, even a little bit, and you'll see if God is in the details or not. And ask a computer programmer if you ever read these back end codes, yeah, right? It's worse than a lot of Jewish magazines in terms of incomprehensibility. And it's cleaner. Okay, thank you. You say no agendas, no politics, and you're reading and reading and reading, and I'm looking at it. I get headaches. I asked her, what if you would take out that crazy symbol that doesn't make sense to me? He says, oh, you're going to destroy everything. You're going to destroy everything. That's how it works. A Z. Yeah. Try sending an email and just take out the dot. Just take out the dot. Right? Gmail.com. Who needs a little dot? Details? The devil is in the details. Life is not in the details. But that's not the case, because what looks to me and to you like a dot, from the programmer's perspective, is not a dot. It's somehow essential to the whole picture. So what we call nothing and insignificant and valueless doesn't work that way. From our perspective, yeah. But from the programmer's perspective, and here I'm talking about the ultimate programmer's perspective, and the metaphor is really good because DNA they call a program. It is really, all computer programs are a glimmer of a glimmer of a glimmer of a glimmer of a reflection of the ultimate program. That's what the Chazal mean. Today we can understand it, that the world is basically a program of letters, right? For thousands of years, it said it in Gemara, in Medrash, in Kabbalah, in Chassidus, Dvar Hashem, the words give chiyus. Shara Yichud V'Amunah is based on this. Which words? What words? When words? Today, from a scientific perspective, if you want to describe the underlying reality of creation, they speak in terms of letters, in terms of words. It's fascinating, it's incredible. And when you go to that level, there's a much deeper unity, because it's basically, as we put it by us, there's the 22 letters of Aleph Beis, Shebehem Nivra Olam, with which the world was created. And the whole Sefer Yetzirah is based on this. But there's not one letter, there's 22 letters. 22 letters is the genesis of diversity. And those 22 letters morph into endless more letters, which is the genesis of all diversity. Starts with 10 Mamoris, which is 10 Sfiris. It morphs into 22 letters. And from there comes the whole diversity of creation. And therefore, my life and your life are one, but they're also different. So the love rooted in Mamalik Kalalman means what? The love to Hashem that's rooted in God becoming the core of me, the core of you. Hashem becomes the engine, the heartbeat, the chiyus, the life, the vitality, the content, the form, the functionality, the design, and the spiritual core and chemistry of every single nivra. You understand Mamalik Kalalman? Very important. Doesn't create shrama. This Mamalik Kalalman doesn't create shrama. This is the the elevation, the validation of all existence as a symphony of God. Yeah, the Nefesh Abamis is also a Chiyus Elikis. The question is how concealed it is. Just like in science also, I don't see that I have DNA. You know when they discovered DNA? 1956. Mr. Watson, who was it? 1956. That's just a couple of decades ago, a few decades ago. So 5,700 years, there was a world, no one even had a hasaga. No, they used to think that a cell is a little joke, like a cell is like a Chinese checker, like a pea. Today, a cell, the complexities that go into one cell is the most sophisticated machine in the whole universe. All of our machines that we create pale in comparison. There's one cell and you have 50 trillion of those in your body, 40 or 50 trillion of those in your body. But what's the point here? The point is that this is the chiyus of everything. The question is how much it's concealed, of course. That's why he says you need a lot of avodah, because I don't see this life force. I have to think about it, I have to learn about it, I have to study about it. That's why there's a maimer. If it would be visible, it would be a whole different story. Even in physicality, it's not visible. You need microscopes and better microscopes and super microscopes, and there's even things that you can't see. When it comes to the spiritual life, it takes tremendous training and awareness and contemplation to think in such terms, to reflect in such terms. That's the first love. So that love is a love to God, really, as a love of self. You say love God, you already love God. It's the ultimate love of self, which is ultimately the love of God. This is very, very important, because so many people in their mind, Avos Hashem and self-dignity is like a contradiction. And what the Balatanya teaches us here, that in the first step of love, it's mamish, this is it. And it's really a pasuk in Chumash. La'avos Hashem elekecha ki hu chayecha. But we teach ki hu chayecha, love God because like He's your life. In other words, He's responsible for your life. He gives you life. In other words, He's the big Uncle Sam. You got to love Uncle Sam. You know, he's paying the checks. It's the shver who's sponsoring you in Kailul. You better love him. And if he says you're coming for Pesach, you're coming for Pesach. I don't care if you don't like me. So that's what the Maimer does. He's even in that Nekuda, you could learn the pasuk b'chitzonius. Love God because basically, if you don't like Him, you're fried. You understand? It's the exact opposite of what he's saying. But you understand the natural conception is God is this big guy. He's bigger than you. What do I say? My tati is bigger than your tati. He's more muscular. He's more powerful. You better say you love me. Because if you don't say you love me, you know what I can do. Which is, of course, never creates love. It can't create love. At best, it can create dread. Not love, dread. Okay, so you're bigger than me, you're more powerful than me. Like a lot of people have such a relationship with their shver. Thank God not everybody, but we have that concept. You know, he controls me with my money, and I have no choice. You want me to pay the bills? Kihu chayecha is not love him because he is your life, and therefore, you know, you got to be scared. So therefore, he's telling you to love, you love. La'avos Hashem alekecha kihu chayecha means that's yourself. You're not two separate beings. We have to stop thinking of God as God. I told you the problem with the word God is that it's a separate entity. The words that's always used in Likutei Torah is Ein Sof. What's Ein Sof? Ein Sof means the all-encompassing reality. That's what Ein Sof means, right? Reality. Yeah. Ein Od Milvado, exactly. In other words, it's not some being out there who has all the power and can send lightning and can send electricity volts. Rather, hu yizbarech hu atzmai hachayis shebekirbai ki hu chayecha. This self that you're trying to detach from him. It's like, God, leave me alone. Yeah? You got the wrong conception. This self that you love so much, your individuality, people say, especially young people, I want freedom. I want to be me. I want to self-actualize myself. Beautiful words. If you listen to commencement speeches at graduations, you ever hear in universities, right? The tycoons stand up and say, live out your dreams. Or graduation of yeshiva. Live your dreams. Don't listen to anybody's criticism, right? You know those speeches that they give to people? To go live their dreams. They're supposed to figure out what their dreams are and live their dreams. Self-actualization. So this self-actualization, you're like, God, why are you mixing into me? It would be mamish like somebody coming to the nutritionist or to the doctor or to the geneticist, and he telling the person, listen, let me tell you a little bit about your genes. Let me tell you a little bit about your DNA. Let me tell you a little bit about the chemistry of your body. And the person will say, you know, I cannot deal with this. You tell my genes not to interfere into my life. And you tell my cells not to dictate how I live. And the doctor will look at him and say, Bubala, the genes are not interfering into your life. The genes are your life. You don't tell me, my cells are not going to mix in. Tell my brain to stop mixing in. They're not mixing in. That you is that your genes are your life. Tell God not to mix into my life. Which life? You are divine. That is your life. Kihu chayecha. It's like back to our refrigerator saying, you tell the electricity not to mix into my identity. Really? I have my own life. You get a life, I have my own life. Electricity, you get a life. Stop mixing into me. What's the life of the refrigerator outside of the electricity? You're a manifestation of the electricity. You could delude yourself, unlike a refrigerator. That's why refrigerators are better than us. And vacuum cleaners. You can delude yourself, but that doesn't change it. And that doesn't make you weaker. It tunes you in. It's called plugged in. It's not a curse for a refrigerator to be plugged in. It's like, stop repressing me. I'm not plugged into anything. Okay, you're not plugged into anything. So what are you? Garnished. A vacuum cleaner that's not plugged in, a laptop that's not plugged in, an iPhone that's chas v'shalom not plugged in. One of the worst crises. An iPhone not plugged in. What is it? Huh? Dead. Your typhus, this is the first Ava. What do you mean? Yeah. In Parshas B'Shalach, right, we have a pasuk, the Jews struggle with Hashem, and what do they ask? Hayesh Hashem bikirbeinu im oyin. Is God among us or not? What do you mean? How can they ask such a question? This is like 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the exodus of Egypt, a few days or weeks after the splitting of the sea. Like, come on. You know, at least a year later, I understand, 5 years later, 10 years later. How Epis abyssal seichel. Hayesh Hashem bikirbeinu. Bikirbeinu literally means in the kishkas. Bikirbeinu, from the word literally, bikirbeinu, kerev, kravayim, right? V'chol kerev uchloyas. Kerev are the intestines, the kravayim. Bikirbeinu literally means in the insides, in the innards. Hayesh Hashem bikirbeinu. Inside of me, inside, in the kishkas, in the intestines. Im oyin or not. That God can exist as some big superpower who is all powerful, fine. But the B'kirbeinu is a whole different experience.
You're saying that even when they came out of Yetzias Mitzrayim, it was a challenge to feel that,
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is another comment.
Yeah. Okay, there's the Taichin L'Kut Torah. If it's yesh or ayin, that's already alpi. We learned if it's yesh, if it's ayin, that's already a much higher Indian. I'm not talking about that. That's you remember the word Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im ayin. If it comes from ayin.
Does this love of Hashem always exist? And that you're just not aware of it?
Yeah. This love is it's really, it's natural. But to create that conscious awareness needs tremendous work and awareness and contemplation.
Fight it. We fight it.
We ourselves fight it. What do you mean?
It's not that we're. I mean, I think it's worse than not being aware of it. It's that we would have to go against it, even though we struggle with it. That we deny it. So
We deny what?
that we have this constant love for Hashem, and that we have this vagus, and that we are connected.
That's beautiful. You hear what he says? In other words, we fight it. We deny the fact that we're always so close, that we're always one. I deny the fact that I am divine, because that means the responsibility. It means I'm never a victim. It means life is good. Not easy for Jews. Not easy for Jews, right? It means you have nothing to complain. What are you going to do? It means you're successful. It means you're a powerhouse. This is not good news for the Jewish people. Maar darf etwas quetschen ein bisschen. I'm verhackt, I'm verjuckt, I'm verdist. The system is against me. Like the guy said, just because I'm paranoid, it doesn't mean the whole world is not out to get me. It also means you're a free person. You think it's easy to be free. How many people left prison after 25 years and took their lives? How many people? In a tragic way, slavery was a comfort zone. They were there for 25 years, 45 years. It's the common things, you can read about it. They go out, they don't know what to do. I remember when Shalmar Rabbi came out of prison last year, it was Hanukkah. So I myself got a lot of messages from people, you're a friend of his, make sure he goes to therapy. Make sure, 8 years, and he wasn't treated nicely. I was by him quite a few times. He was treated like the real prisoners. He wasn't in a camp Gan Yisrael where you walk around and play tennis and then work out for hours and then, do dvekas, and then they bring in the cholent and then they bring in jalapeno herring, etc. Not that any prison is chas v'sholem good, but there's levels. He was a real prisoner, like in the old days. So people said, therapy. So he came to see me 2 or 3 days after. So, Shalmar Rabbi is a ehrliche Yid. So he says, the Olam tells me I need therapy. The trachst dich darf? You think I need? Because I don't feel anything. I'm fine and this. I said, darfst nicht. So I said, mir darf in therapy. But then I realized why. Because he never allowed himself to really go into prison. Even when he came in Lag Baimer, we had a farbrengen in the tent. So every time he said when I was in prison, he didn't say when I was in prison, he says when I was in a place that many people call prison. So at some point I thought it's a mashagas. I said, could you just say when I was in prison? No. He says, no. 8 years I fought that. Do you want me now to change? 8 years I fought that. I was not in prison. I was in a place that people call prison. But it's a very powerful tool. It's not simple. It's easy to talk about, but experiencing it is a whole different tool. So for a person to be able to really embrace this is a very powerful idea. And it's very easy, as you say, to deny it. That's why he says you need an avoid and amal gadol. Huh?
He had it properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
He kept him strong.
He told me, he says, I said, what does this mean practically? He said, listen, I ask you a question. Hashem is also in prison. He's also stuck. I said, probably not. He says, well, I was one with Hashem, so I also wasn't in prison. But Tapshitis. Tapshitis.
He told a story where some guy told him that you're not really
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Like by me, he said, yeah.
They don't make people like that. It's like Jews in Russia.
Huh?
Russia was not behind
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a certain attitude. So Reb Moshe is explaining why. Did I explain well what you said? Why people deny this thing? Huh?
I think it's just like people feel that way when they're either living in the wrong neighborhood or driving in the wrong shul or something, because I go to a shul where people are into Hashem, into singing, into davening, into it, and it builds me up. You know, if I was in another place, I see where it could bring me down. And so, we gotta
Yeah.
build ourselves up and be around people that are gonna build ourselves up.
Yeah.
Like this year.
That's why you come here every morning.
Yeah.
And that's why we come every morning to be with you. You have a good energy.
With Hashem, I'm trying.
Goes like this. Tov la tzadik, tov l'shchena.
Such a very
That's why he sits near you. Mr. Jacob sits near you. Huh?
What I don't get is someone steals something, ends up in prison. Anything hush about stealing?
No, we're not promoting that at the Shir. To go steal and end up in prison and say that God is there. It's not what we're promoting.
If it happens,
A person could do tshuva. People make mistakes, yeah. People make bad mistakes. They do stupid things and they end up in stupid places. But let's remember something. Ultimately, they're not in prison because they stole. You know how I know? A lot of thieves are not in prison. They're in prison because they were caught. So the question is why they were caught. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of thieves, some of you know them well, are not in prison. They should be. A lot of people who belong in prison are not in prison. A lot of people who have done some really bad things, I'm not talking about money, other stuff, are not in prison. Other people are in prison. They were caught. The question is, why was somebody caught? That's already not a question of law. That's already a spiritual question.
Hashem loves it.
This you have to ask Rabashkin. I don't know why. I can't answer why. I don't know. This one goes through this one. Oh. Do we know this? Do we understand this? Ata Yedeya Raza Yolam. Right? You know the secrets of the universe. Moshe Leib Sosov said, the secrets of Torah, there are some Jews who know. The secrets of the universe, Ata Yedeya, only you know. Nobody else knows. It's a very powerful idea. We say in the confessions, Yom Kippur, Ata Yedeya Raza Yolam v'salumay Sisrei Kol Chai. You know the secrets of every living being. Secrets of Torah, there are some Jews who merit to know, at least many of them. But Raza Yolam, the secrets of the world, that only you know. Even great people don't know it. They don't know. They don't always understand. There's a lot of things about people's journeys that are inexplicable. You look at two people. This one's journey is grew up the same, but it's not like they're very different in so many ways. But their journeys are so different, and their struggles are so different. And this is not connected to things that people know. Like we learned in the Maimon Mizmor Shech Chanukah Sabayis, right? About Shikha, you remember? About Miyodeya, things that are beyond us. Ratzon l'Ratzon, right? It's not always clear if you look, this person belongs here, this person belongs there. Okay, so this is all a summation of the first love that's rooted in a Malakal Alma. So try to work on this love today. Okay? To be able to reveal it. Yeah. You don't have to create it. You reveal it and accept it and embrace it in a deep way. And then we could maybe be ready for the next love. Next love is already a whole different level. Have a wonderful day. And a loving day.
The question I have is,
Love and feel loved. Today, may you love and feel loved. Huh?
You as well.
whole premises of this mind, I listened to last week, it's all based on, and it's so simple. People love their life.
Yeah.
Today, people,
Yeah.
many people struggle with that.
Yeah.
themselves.
They don't love
The
themselves.
whole mind is stuff.
Yeah. Nu was sagst du? Says this is all if you like yourself. You love your life, and then you could say your life is Hashem.
Most of the pshita,
Yeah, he's mamash most the pshit. Like it's not even a shaila.
not even one word.
Yeah, not even a shaila that a person loves his life. And you're saying so many people
Struggle with
That
that.
in itself is the lesson.
that what?
You have to see your value. That's teaching our value. Because it's stuff of question. We're busy. How could I love myself? Look at me. Look what I've done. And the whole time is telling you, lechatchila, there's no such thing.
Beautiful. Very good, Moshe. I didn't know. You opened
Say the
the...
word,
Yeah.
You have a substitute.
Yeah, gewaltig. I was always looking for substitutes. Looks good. You understand what he's saying? He's saying, let's ask a person, let's go back. Why does a person not like himself? And you will discover, Moshe, I'm going to explain what you said. Say that.
So that you can
Then you can
understand.
internalize it
Yeah.
to me.
But I can't live it for you. Das kann ich nicht. Go back and try to figure out why any person says, I hate my life. I wish I can die. I hate every moment. I dread waking up in the morning. And you'll discover something very powerful. That is not embedded in their very nature. There's something behind it. There's some deep experience, encounter, trauma, abuse, circumstances, of course, inside or outside, right? That is causing it. You look at a baby, I'm talking about a healthy baby who's nurtured, who's protected. There's a love of life. Look at the 3-year-old kid eating ice cream, right? Playing Lego. The 2-year-old riding their bike, running around in the grass. There's a love of life. How does that change?
But again, you're making an exception. I'm talking about a healthy baby.
But again,
How many
no.
Not in that
If a baby is locked up, chas v'shalom, and being abused, they snuff out from them their soul.
things like this happen.
That's my point. That's exactly my point.
About the 60-year-old that's eating the ice cream and riding the bike.
You? Develop.
You know?
Okay, I'm happy about the bike.
I don't have to worry about the. I don't have to worry about
Gesundheit. No, I'm trying to say that children have this natural
Innocent.
innocence and fun of life.
Joie de vivre.
Huh?
Joie de vivre.
Yes. Yeah, the joy of life, yeah. As the French say. The French try to continue. No, I'm bringing out a point. When you sit with somebody, yeah, we'll say, if you'll see someone say, I want to die in my life, you say, maybe you can go visit a therapist. Why? Because we recognize that it's not the natural way, that there's something off about it. We want to help the person. Why do we want to help the person? Why, if somebody wants to jump off a bridge, do we call the police? We fight him. Why? Because we all as a society, even from a secular society, certainly from a Jewish perspective, recognize that there's something sick about the person. When somebody says, chas v'shalom, they have cancer, or they have a heart attack or a stroke, we put them in the hospital. We don't say, okay, let's celebrate it. We recognize that there's something unfortunately dysfunctional in the body that needs urgent help. We all recognize that. You don't say, you're sick, great, die. When somebody says, I hate my life, I want to kill myself, we recognize that there's something so wrong. We want to help them. We say, can you go talk to somebody? Why am I sending you to talk to somebody? Because we all recognize that it's not supposed to be that way. It's an aberration of life. Something is missing. And therefore, we want to get to the bottom of it. We want to find out what is it. And we will find out that it is something connected to, there's something about me that I hate. There's something about me that drives me crazy. Maybe it's an endless shame. How many boys or girls who were molested live with shame, and they can't live with it, they have to die. Because they look in the mirror and they see the worst monster in the world. I can't live with a monster, and I'm the monster, because they blame themselves.
It's not their fault that they were in that circumstance.
No, we're not blaming.
Hundreds of kids
Right.
suicide,
exactly.
not only the world over, even in the community.
Yeah. And even suicide is what we hear about. And what about the drugs before the suicide?
The suffering until the drug.
And the suffering before the drugs.
So it's not such a Muslim sheet that like the she is binding.
Oh, so Reb Moshe is saying, yeah? So Reb Moshe is saying, what's the ultimate antidote to this? When the person realizes that the real self you can't hate. The real self you gotta love. That's the ultimate antidote.
But this very Ein Sof has created the circumstances of that. So you mentioned kids being abused. It's not their fault. They didn't choose it.
100%. They didn't choose it.
Did they know they went home from Cheder that
They didn't know.
And the rest of their life they would have to struggle
They
with
didn't
this very
know.
line?
They didn't know, right. And our job in society is to be able to be those people who show them that love that they deserve. That's our job. I can't answer that question.
I'm
I'm
saying,
sorry.
I think before that line, that it's the Islam.
On the society level, it's a very hard thing to do on a macro level because we want to provide for people.
It's like every
they
bad
they lack something. Instead of actually getting to true selves, you
Some people
create
start
social
negative
grade,
one,
which is a form of slavery.
They never had a chance.
This, it's in a way the same thing as a comfort zone.
Yeah. But let me ask you a question. What's the hope for such a type of person?
Before we go to the hope and to the healing, I know there is hope and healing and recovery. So these people have started off negative.
You're right.
one,
You're right.
starting off without having
Their
a chance.
self-perception is already traumatized. And that's if
And
there was
that is their
abuse.
own fault.
Yeah.
You know,
And sometimes it's different types of trauma. It's not always
of
abuse.
course, you mentioned abuse. And what if the people in dysfunctional families?
Dysfunctional families, yeah.
Or poverty, or,
Yeah.
or bullying, or there's a
Yeah.
million things.
But it's and what's the bottom line of all of them? I hate my life.
But they never had a chance.
Or executives sometimes who are making millions and commit suicide. They also hate their life.
It's definitely or probably connected to childhood trauma as well.
Citizen Kane.
What's the question? Like
Huh?
did it?
Rosebud.
Telling me what's the how was the show?
Rosebud.
Meditate on how you love yourself.
So what's the
Some
question?
people
Like
start
God did it to him?
not directly the question.
So
But
what's
these
the
people
question?
have never have a chance to love
So they
themselves.
did. Correct. So what's the question now? They didn't, and that's fine.
And I think that's what you said, right? The most powerful teaching one can give such a person, and we can give ourselves, is this statement.
In the healing, to strip off and get to the bottom of it.
You are the divine light in this world. That's who you are. That's who you really are. And nobody can take that away from you. That part is not vulnerable for somebody to take away from you. You're not a little vulnerable schmata that because I punched you physically or emotionally, you're done. Just like Titus. Titus stabbed the paroiches of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It started to bleed and he said, oh, I killed God. When Hitler and Himmler and Eichmann and Mengele sent the Jews into the gas chambers, they didn't think they were sending Jews into the gas chambers. They were sending God into the gas chambers. And every time 500 or 20,000 Jews were gassed in a day, God was gassed in a day. Of course. That was the venom. I mean, of course, they wanted to exterminate every Jew, but it was deeper than every Jew. They wanted God in the gas chambers. And when they burnt Reb Chanina ben Tzadin in a Sefer Torah, they didn't want to only burn Reb Chanina ben Tzadin. What did they need a Sefer Torah for? They wanted to burn God. The abuser, right? He cannot destroy God, and therefore he cannot destroy you. I don't know if there's too many more healing ideas in the literature of healing that you're going to find. Why I have to go through the pain I have to go through and rediscover that? That's a big question. That's bigger than Rabbi YY answering. You know that. We all know that. And I'm not going to answer the question, but I do want to say that the fact is that somebody who discovers this through pain owns this in a way that nobody else owns it. Not that I could say this justifies a kid being abused for 3 years, chas v'shalom. I'm not saying that. I don't know God's mind, why he allows all that and other evil in the world. I don't know. But I do know that people who go through their struggles and then discover this, when they discover this, nothing is going to... They own it. It's theirs because they had to fight for it. They didn't just look in the mind, oh, very nice, next. No, it's not next. They stopped. They went, 10 years, they had to work on it. When they own it, they own it.
But the main Mora, the Ramban says that the log was also Mora.
Yeah.
Mora healed Mora, not...
Yeah, the Ramban Vikisa, yeah.
The theory is that everything that Hashem
Homeopath.
The theory is that everything Hashem does is for the good. So it's B'di'evet, but it's being talked about. But we got to go from there and try to lighten up the world.
There was a young man who was suffering from homosexual tendencies. Very, very intense ones. He penned a heart-wrenching letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, 1986. The Rebbe wrote him back a 3-page correspondence. Very, very powerful letter. I read it once, I saw it once. One paragraph startled me. The Rebbe says there, the boy wanted to know why he has to go through this. He says, I don't know. It's certainly part of the mysteries of life and the mysteries of divine providence. But then the Rebbe added one point as a possible suggestion generally. He said that sometimes a person possesses inside of them a light that is so powerful that it can change the world. But the only way the person will be able to uncover that secret power and call it their own is by being compelled to overcome some major challenges in their life, which without it, they would never be able to discover the truest power of self. I was reading it and I thought to myself, many people would speak to such a boy and sadly and unfortunately feel disdain, like ich. Others, many more hopefully, would feel empathy. Empathy. What did the Rebbe do? The Rebbe said, wow, what a gift. The crisis became an opportunity. The challenge suddenly was a catalyst for your ultimate realization. Now, this is not a lack of empathy. It's not like he didn't start over the letter that way. First he said, I don't understand. Because if you right away start off, oh, you're cursed, that's wonderful, then you'll lose the person. But it's the ultimate empathy. The ultimate empathy is that you're not a Rachmanis case. It's nebach. There's empathy, I'm so sorry. But the ultimate empathy is empowerment. The ultimate empathy is that you're an ambassador of God and you were sent to places where nobody else was sent because of the magnitude of your potentials that are completely on a different magnitude. Such a Rebbe you want to have.
Thank you for being here.
This is such a romantic morning.
You see people, that.
I know why, because tomorrow is my birthday. So you're feeling it.
Secular birthday?
No.
You have to celebrate.
My Jewish birthday. My B'Shvili Nivra Ha'olam birthday. Oh, I didn't even realize I was quoting Michael Savage about birthdays. That was mamish unconscious. Mamish
They
unconscious.
say this from the Rabbi should have it all over.
I know.
But you only heard it from
I heard it from Michael Savage.
That's why the Rebbe was also into birthdays, no?
The Rebbe was into birthdays, I know. That I heard from the Rebbe. That I didn't need Savage. But this Vart. The Rebbe spoke a lot about the day you were born. But this Vart, that the day that you were born is the day Hashem said the world can't be without you. And Savage he says, you sometimes hear a man of God. He says, you hear wisdom, real wisdom. He says, this, how he speaks, he says, this line can't be said by anybody. He says, sometimes you hear a line, this is a holy man, a holy man. He said this on the radio. I turned it on. I'm like, wow, it's so nice to get a Shia Chassidus. Yeah. Usually I go into a car, they're listening to me. I don't like when people listen to me in the car when I'm there, because it's hard enough me being me. I don't have to listen to me. So I like to turn on other things. I don't have to hear me. I know what I mean. It's nice to go out of my brain a little. So I turned on Savage. I thought maybe, he'll curse out somebody in a geschmack way, and I'll be distracted for 20 minutes. And suddenly I hear. I want to tell you a line that somebody tells me from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I'm like, okay. Yeah. I guess we'll know when Mashiach is here, when any station that you'll turn, you'll hear Eined Mulvada, you'll hear from the Rebbe, you'll hear from this one. Then you'll know that Mashiach is here. Yeah.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Switch from 770? New religion?
Okay.
For me, the Shem Sham is
Ben Shapiro, ja, is Afromayid. Hij geht toch met Hayamel kan, hè?
Yeah, because always the
Okay. No, I don't think so. Oh, really? Okay, so why not? Why not?
But they go to Chabad school not because he's a wedding, because nobody else accepts him.
Everybody have a wonderful day. A lot of Hatzlacha.
Thank you for the kids.
Memalik Kalalman, yeah? Memalik Kalalman. Verstehst?
So we have to celebrate your B'Shvili.
Okay. We're celebrating right now. What's the best way to celebrate? Das is L'chaim. What's L'chaim? L'chaim is to life. It's just L'chaim. Tell me, schnapps is better than this.
I don't drink.
Okay, but you know, right? It's better than this. Das is L'chaim. Adarabbe, but I can't push nicht trinken. I have, it's one of my dysfunctionalities. Ich kann nicht. It's zu bitter for me. You say mit darf ibe kommen. Okay. We'll continue the next subject. Was macht er? Bruchim Abayim. Engländer? Von wo kommt? Is er da gewesen einmal, ne?